Motorsport TV Live, brought to you by Motorsport Tickets, the dedicated motorsport experiences provider.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport TV Live. I'm Bryn Lucas. Coming up today, we'll be looking back at the WRC season and hear from M Sport team principal Richard Milliner. There's insight from WRC reporter for Autosport and Motorsport.com, Tom Howard, and we'll take a look forward to 2022 as the series prepares to enter a new hybrid era. That's all coming up right here on Motorsport TV Live. Sébastien Ogier was pushed all the way by his Toyota teammate, but in the end it was a thrilling and emotional World Rally Championship win for the Frenchman in 2021 in what looks like being his final full-time season in the series. He eventually took the title by winning the deciding Rally Monza after an event-long fight with rival Elfyn Evans. We'll go back over where the title was won and lost shortly with Autosport and Motorsport.com's WRC reporter Tom Howard. But here's a reminder of what it meant to Ogier to take an emotional 8th championship.
There is so much joy today for sure, but it's a little bit of sadness, or maybe more than a little bit actually, where we know it's the end of this fantastic journey, and Julian has been a huge part of this successful story. So for sure, like I told him when we crossed the finish line, I'm gonna miss him. It's always super tough for a sportsman to find a way to end a career. I think there is no best way. You can always see an advantage there or there, and the way I do it today with stopping but not completely, still remaining with the team and doing few rallies next year, feel the right way at the moment. But right now I feel I would prefer actually to have a full break or like stop to really now enjoy the end of the year and don't already jump into the preparation of next. For the others is next season, but for me it's only like next month at the moment, and yeah, I very honestly don't really feel for it right now, but yeah, I'm sure I will, and at least days like this, you know, give you a bit.
Seb Ogier there at the Rally Monza after winning the world title for an 8th time, speaking to Motorsport.com's Tom Howard. And I'm pleased to say Tom joins me now to look back at that win and the rest of the big talking points from another great season. So, Tom, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. It's nice to have someone in the studio, actually. Now, Ogier, we just heard from him. What a phenomenal driver. It's a shame he's hanging up his cap, I suppose, for a final full season there, but a brilliant season. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I think there's not much more can be said about Sébastien. He probably will be remembered as the greatest ever. I know Sébastien Loeb has won 9 titles, one more title than Ogier, but Ogier's done it with 3 different manufacturers, and that is quite impressive. Again, it wasn't perhaps his most convincing year, but his consistency is what does it. He's so good. Every round he scored a point at least. He only had 1 real on-stage blemish, a crash in Arctic Rally Finland, and had 5 rally wins altogether, including a really cracking dice with Elfyn Evans at Rally Croatia, where he was behind going into the final stage, but then actually won it on the final stage by 0.6 seconds, which is the 3rd closest finish in history. Yeah,
it's phenomenal, isn't it? He's done so many things. We've got some footage, I know, from him from his winning rally. But when you talk about him being such a phenomenal driver and the fact he's done it with 3 different manufacturers, what makes him so good? When you look at the people around him, Thierry Neuville, there's Oitanek, there's Elfyn Evans, there's Loeb. You mentioned Loeb. What puts him above all those drivers?
It's a real difficult one to say. I think it's his consistency. He knows when to fight and knows when to draw back. It's all about scoring points in the WRC, but he's also got this sublime skill, and the way he preserves his tyres is phenomenal, because he's often having it opening the road because he's leading the championship. So, which is obviously a disadvantage, but he's got this knack of being able to conserve his rubber, and it actually pays dividends. He ends up winning rallies that he has to open the road on, which is pretty unheard of. Not many people can do that. So he's just one of these supreme talents that it just sort of defies belief at times. You sit there and wonder just how is he doing this, but he just has this this fight, and as his team boss, Toyota team boss Jari-Matti Latvala said, he's the best fighter he's ever seen in the WRC. He's just got this spark. When he needs to go for it, he goes for it and delivers. Just one of these phenomenal talents.
And he's had a co-driver next to him for quite some time who's retiring completely from rally. Can we just talk? We saw a couple of shots of him in the car a few moments ago. What makes him so special? Is it just that they have such a good bond working together?
I think Julian and Sébastien will go down as one of the great partnerships in world motorsport. To win 8 world titles together is just phenomenal. Julian's very organised, and he sort of complements Sébastien with his pace, and the two together just gel brilliantly and have been together for such a long time, 16 seasons. When you do that, you just build up a sort of bond. They become your family in a way, don't they? So they're just a different level above everyone else, and I think the consistency between the partnership has really delivered.
Yeah, it really has. It's great that he can finish on a high as well, really. Now, one man who over the last 2 years has worn a lot of bridesmaids outfits, never the bride, is Elfyn Evans. Came second in the last 2 seasons, and well, he did it again this year, so it's 2 in 2 years now. But what do we say about him? Is he now going to be, and we'll look at next year properly, but he's going to be looking at 2022 thinking, okay, there's no Ogier, it's my big chance.
He won't say that, but I'm sure everyone will be hoping that is the case. And you have to feel sorry for Elfyn. He's in the last 2 years, he's really come on as a driver. And this past season, he's really reached a new level. He even said that he's performing the best he's ever performed. And he's coming so close and pushing the great Ogier to the limit, which just goes to show how far Elfyn has come from that driver that started out at M Sport all those years ago. So he must be frustrated. But again, if things had gone a slightly differently, he may well have ended up with this title. There was an accident in Safari, which was obviously not ideal for him, and he's had a gearbox problem in Greece, which really cost him. But had those things not happened, who knows? We could be talking Elfyn as the world champion.
Yeah, luck of the Welsh, as they say. We saw some footage there of him jumping at Finland. I mean, it's just phenomenal what he can do behind the wheel, and it wouldn't be too far from the realms of possibility to think he might win the title next year.
Yeah, and let's not talk about that Finland win, because he's only the second British driver to win that event in its 70-year history, and it's normally dominated by Scandinavians. So what he did there was phenomenal. He blitzed the opposition and was just untouchable. But yes, going into next year, he will think he's a chance at winning this. But who knows? 2022 is going to be so unpredictable. He may not well have the car that can compete with the likes of the M Sport or Hyundai.
Well, we're looking at him in action again here now with these jumps. I mean, look at the distance he gets on that. But it's not just the distance he gets on the jumps. It is the fact, as you were saying, that he's pushed Ogier. And Ogier will have probably enjoyed that he's been pushed and challenged, because it's raised his game too. And Elfyn, they both worked so well because they're pushing each other. It's made Elfyn a better driver. It's made Ogier a better driver, which has raised the level for everyone out there.
Absolutely, and I think, as I said, we've got to give credit to Elfyn, because to get the performances that Sebastian's delivered, as you say, Elfyn has pushed him to deliver those performances. So, in fact, the whole game has gone up, and yes, the category may not have the entries that it used to have, but the competitiveness of it at the moment is probably the best it's ever been. Yeah,
well, when we talk about competitiveness, I meant with Elfyn there. 2 times a bridesmaid, well, 4 times a bridesmaid is Nouvelle. And, well, it's been a while since he's had that particular outfit on, but didn't quite go to plan for him in 2021.
You've got to feel sorry for Thierry. You really do. You can't fault his driving. He made probably 2 errors all year, but he was let down by his Hyundai machinery. The car was clearly the fastest package, but probably the most fragile too. And reliability concerns really dogged him. You felt so sorry for him at the Safari Rally. He'd led that all the way, the final day, and the suspension fails, and he's handing the victory to Ogier, which is just a classic case of Ogier being there at the right time. But really, that should have been Thierry's win. He should have won. In Portugal as well, that didn't happen, and it was the reliability issues again. And you just feel like everything was kind of against Thierry this year. He had fantastic wins in Belgium and Spain, which just showed when he clicked with the machinery and when it was on song, they couldn't be touched. He was just so good. And he also did this with a new co-driver this year. So another sort of fact really that shows just how good he was in 2021.
it does speak volumes, doesn't it? Like you say, a new co-driver, and we shouldn't underestimate how tough that is for a rally driver to get that relationship with a co-driver, because it takes years to build quite a lot of the time. When we look at the history, Ogier, for example, it's years in the making to be that successful, and there he is on the top step in Belgium with his co-driver, looking very, very happy.
And what a way to do it as well, to win on home soil. That event was the first time it was part of the WRC too, so there was a lot of pressure on Thierry to deliver on home ground, and he really, really delivered. And you have to say you felt so happy for him after what had happened previously, that he had a nice win in front of his home crowd there.
Yeah. What about Oyt Tanak then, 2019 champion? Again, not a season to remember for him.
Yeah, a real season to forget for Oyt. Obviously a 2019 world champion, so we know he can do it, and he's one of the only people to have beaten Ogier to a title. So we know exactly what we're dealing with Oyt. But again, extreme fast pace, but just reliability again for Hyundai just really killed them. They threw away so many victories that should have happened. Sardinia was one where Tanak was just cruising. He hit a rock and that damaged his suspension, but it was just one of those cases where the rock was in the middle of the road, and quite a small rock could have should have really have caused what happened. But he won in the Arctic, which just showed what he can deliver when the car was working. But you really had to feel for Oyt as well, because it was just a season that just didn't get going. It never got going for him, and he will be looking to next year as a year where he really needs to bounce back.
Momentum is such a big thing in rallying, isn't it? Because if you have that confidence from one rally to the next, you can build it up. But if you start and you already, you don't know how to respond to that, but don't worry, we'll carry on. That's all right. Yeah, it's hard to get that momentum, isn't it? And then, if you lose it, getting yourself back into that mindset is really tricky. Yeah,
it must have been so frustrating as well, because he knew the package was the pace, the speed was there, but it was the reliability. So there's nothing out of his control. It was one of those ones where, as a driver, you must be so frustrated because you're doing everything right, but the equipment is perhaps letting you down. And I guess when you're in that position, there's not much you can do, or who you can turn to. There's not much you can really do to alter your fortune. So it was just one of those seasons for Oyt where he's just going to have to take it on the chin. It's one of those years, and hopefully it won't be too many more of those years in his locker left.
Yeah, chalk it down to experience, I guess. Now, team boss Adamo has left Hyundai. Now that's a big hole, isn't it, for the Hyundai team?
Yeah, massive hole for Hyundai to fill. Andrea Adamo, really likeable character in the paddock, and probably one of the most funniest and charismatic figures in the paddock. So he'll be missed by the media, by the whole WRC scene, because he brought a bit of a different different aspect to the championship, brought a bit of humour, and really lovely guy, and obviously got his drivers really motivated. But sadly, personal reasons has seen him depart the team and leaves them with a hole to fill with a month to go until Monty. So they're very much playing catch up, and were playing catch up before, because they were the last manufacturer to commit to the new rules. So they were already sort of chasing M Sport and Toyota. So it's going to be a real tough winter, tough month for Hyundai. They need to find a replacement. They've got the president standing in, Scott No, at the moment, but there will be a new person in that role. So we will see who that will be come Monty, whether they get someone in for that event or not. But yes, Hyundai really facing an uphill battle at the moment. Also had a testing crash with Thierry Neuville, which was nasty, and wrote off one of their cars. So it's a tough task for Hyundai, but if anyone can pull through, it'll be them. Yeah,
now Thierry's okay now, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, he's back actually testing this past week with a different co-driver. Sadly, Martin Wiedeger, his co-driver, suffered a broken shoulder in that accident. Very, very nasty accident. They just misjudged the weather conditions and outbraked themselves and fell down a 30-metre drop into a ravine in France. Lucky to come out of that without a more serious injuries. So yeah, but amazingly, the science of these new 2022 cars has allowed Thierry to be back testing again already. So it's an amazing testament to the new cars.
Yeah, it really is. And, good luck to Thierry, but also good luck to Kalle Rovanperä, because here's a guy who came into the season, his first full season in WRC, and wow, what a driver.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking up Kalle for some time as the next big thing, and he really delivered in 2021. Got his first win in Rally Estonia, so he became the youngest ever winner in the WRC. And then produced an absolutely dominant display in the Acropolis on his Acropolis debut to win that event, which really sort of set him out as a real talent that we need to keep an eye on for the future. In many people's eyes, he will probably become the youngest ever world champion and eclipse Colin McRae's record, which he still held since 1995 when he was 27. So he's only 20, so he's got a few years to do this. So yeah, he was a phenomenal talent in 2021 and also a really good team player, helped Toyota win that manufacturer's crown. He had to sacrifice his Rally Monza so that Ogier and Elfyn could go to battle for the driver's title. So he's a real talent, and Toyota are very lucky to have potentially him and Elfyn to fill that Ogier void. Like they've got two candidates there already.
It's annoying, isn't it? People that young having that much talent. It shouldn't be allowed. We should put a ban on it. Now, Rally Kenya came back, didn't it? The Safari Rally came back after 19 years. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, Safari Rally, this is something that obviously a lot of people, and certainly myself growing up as a child, used to watch this with wonder, because it's just one of those incredible events where it's a real endurance, and to make it to the finish is an achievement in itself. This version was a slightly shorter one, but no less tough, as we saw with Thierry Neuville, obviously not crashing out, but his reliability issues costing him a win, and Ogier picking up the victory ahead of Takamoto Katsuta, who got his first podium in the WRC for Toyota. But yes, great rally. The fans really took to it. The locals came out in force, lining the streets just on the road sections to watch the cars go by. So it was a real success story for the WRC and for Rally Kenya.
Yeah, and it's great to see it. Just the overriding shot there. You see the background. What a brilliant vista to see that amazing backdrop there. And it's going to be in the diary for seasons to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to see the sights of giraffes sliding stages and zebras crossing the road for some time. Which the drivers, they like the challenge, but obviously we don't want to injure any wildlife, but there is that added extra element of danger that you get with the safari. So it really is a unique event in world motorsport.
Elements of danger that we haven't quite got used to before. We'll come back to that, Tom. Thank you very much. Now, M Sport and Ford have, of course, been attempting to narrow the gap between themselves, Toyota and Hyundai at the top. We, and more specifically Tom, caught up with their team principal recently and found they're optimistic about their 2022 chances. Despite this season having its challenges, Milliner was still happy with the progress that they've made.
I think we had a very good season, really. We had a lot of good finishes, solid finishes. We had some very good results along the way, Kenya being a particular highlight. Adrian got his first stage win. Gus did some incredible times throughout the season as well, and in fact by the end of the season Gus and Adrian were almost trading times on every rally, which is great to see, because they're both showing that they're capable of doing bigger and better things. And yeah, I think we had a good send off for the car, and I think we have to be happy with what we achieved over that season. I think both of them will be incredibly capable of getting some good results. We've been lucky in the fact that we have been developing that new car along the way, that Adrian especially has been involved right from the start on the development from that side of things. So he's had a lot of time to kind of learn the car, understand the new technology, understand how the new hybrid system works, and really get used to that car. Gus has unfortunately not had as much time in the car, but I think he's a quick learner and he'll get up to speed soon. But putting that effort into that new development will give those guys the best chance possible to hit the ground running in 2022, and that's where historically we've done very well as a team, developing new cars and bringing new cars to the championship. And I think it's a really good opportunity for us to show what's possible. It will still be tricky for those guys. They're still young guys. They're still learning the rallies, learning the rally craft as such at that level. To go up against the competition there against a number of ex-world champions and even current world champions in Monte Carlo. That's very tough. So I think realistically our approach for next year is that we've got to be consistent regardless of whatever happens. I think we can fight for victories. I think we can fight for to be competitive within drivers and manufacturers championship, but to be competitive and to be close to the battle for those titles, you need to be consistent. So that will be key for those guys, and that's a difficult skill to learn. Being fast but also finishing pretty much every rally. That's a tricky one to learn, and I hope that's what they got some ideas from throughout this year. Learning that pace, learning how to approach a rally. So I think we're in the best possible position we can be for next year. So this year's been more tricky, because the funding and support we get from Ford for next year is the best we've ever received in terms of developing a new car, which is fantastic. It's allowed us to really get ahead of the game and we were the first ones out there to launch the car at Goodwood. We're the first ones testing with the new car, and we feel that we've had a really successful testing season with that, so that's great. But with that comes the sacrifice of not developing the Fiesta in its final year, really, using the package as we had, which was still very capable. Again, to get the fastest stage time, and on tarmac rallies especially, we could be very competitive. Croatia, Adrian set nearly 2 more fastest stage times, apart from Mr. Ogier nicking them off in both times. I think we've shown that what we had is great. But yeah, we don't have the same budgets as the other teams. It's not something I really like to keep dwelling on. Ultimately, we have a set budget and we have a set program, and we do the best we can with that. And we feel that we can be resourceful and use a lot of experience we've got over the previous seasons, to do well. It's nothing that dramatically has changed since 2017 when we won the titles there. So we've always been a semi-manufacturer supported team as such, input from Ford and also input from M Sport side. But I think the team and Ford and M Sport together all relish in doing well against the other teams, because we know we're doing it on a slightly more tricky way, but we're still delivering very good results. And I think that goes to show the calibre of the whole team we have. But what's clear for 2022 onwards is, without support from Ford, it would be impossible for us. Integrating this new technology in is a great challenge and a great excitement for us. But without their resources in America and Europe, it would be impossible for us. So the partnership it goes hand in hand. It has to be there, and we're very glad that it is there. And we're very glad of all the support we get, because it's what allows us to make a competitive car, and hopefully we'll do everyone proud and get some really good results for it next season.
M Sport's Richard Millen there. Now, Tom is still with me, and Tom, we've got to have a look at 2022. We've touched on it briefly, over the course of this little chat here, and it's so hard to call, isn't it? Who's going to go where? Who's going to do what? Come on, your turn to predict it.
2022 is going to be probably the most unpredictable season we've seen for some time. New regulations, as you say, they're Rally 1 hybrid cars, so these are all untested machinery. And we've got new lineups, and obviously Ogier not doing a full season. So it's going to be interesting, I suppose, if you were sort of looking at it. Your favourites are going to be Elfyn and Cali, probably. If Hyundai get up to speed quickly, then Thierry will be in with a shout. But possibly M Sport are the ones to look at, because they have been testing longer than anyone else with these new cars. And Craig Breen, if he can carry on the performance he had this year in his part-time campaign with Hyundai, then he has to be a contender. Like, he has to be. And obviously they've got Adrian Formeau and Gus Greensmith's 3 cars for the full season instead of 2 for last year. They're a real chance of doing this.
Right, okay. Well, we've lost a Seb, but we've gained 2 Sebs. Right? So talk us through this one, because this news only really just came out, in recent times.
Yes, so interesting scenario is that Sébastien Ogier will be only doing a part-time season, but we also have Sébastien Loeb, the GOAT, shall we say, the 9-time champion. He is back for 1 round at the moment, but maybe he might do more, we don't know. And he's with M Sport Ford in the Puma, so in the 4th Puma for Monte Carlo Rally. So we've got the tantalising prospect of Ogier versus Loeb at the Monte Carlo Rally, a rally where they have won between them 15 times. So this is the place where they do their business. So it's a fascinating prospect, and one where you look in awe, really, as to what we're going to see.
It's fantastic. For the purists, it's going to be an incredible event to see it for itself. But, okay, so Elfyn, Oit, what about Thierry Neuville? He deserves a title. 4 times he's finished 4th. I mean, come on. Let's give him a title, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. The guy has done everything he needs to do other than win a title. So, again, but this all really goes down to how well Hyundai are going to cope and how well they're going to sort of catch up this game they're playing with Toyota and M Sport, because they started a little bit later than the others. So it really does depend how quickly they fix their team principal issues and how quickly they develop this car. If they can do that, Thierry is definitely within a shout of winning this title.
Now, how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Definitely a 9 or a 10. It really is. For the rally fan, I can't think of a more exciting title bout at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, the cars are perhaps not as fast as the generation that we've just seen. And it's new technology, but in terms of competition and lineups, we can't really be disappointed. So Yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting year.
It's come together very, very nicely. New car, we've got, one driver disappeared for the full season. It's going to be phenomenal. Tom, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Great stuff. Well, that's all we've got time for. Thanks very much to Tom. I'm Bryn Lucas. Join us again here on Motorsport TV Live for more season reviews and roundups. We'll see you again soon. Cool, we can talk now. What?